I'm going to stitch out the apron for the Rosemaling Angel. Now this needs to be prepared in advance so that it can be slipped underneath the bodice of your angel as you are creating her. What I've got here is a panel of freestanding hardanger lace, or my interpretation of freestanding hardanger lace. This was prepared using bobbin fill in the bobbin. I find that's quite adequate and it makes a lighter lace. You don't need to put the rayon in the bobbin. And this was done on a wash away stabilizer yesterday, and this has dried out nicely. There is a place on this version of the apron to insert this panel. I'm using my 240 by 150 magnetic hoop. I think this is the best way to do it. I've put in a layer of soft and sheer. I thought about a sticky tearaway, but I want the apron to be as light as possible. And if I do, I wanted this soft stabilizer on the back. So I've got a layer of tulle to stitch it on, and the idea is that I can cut out the area where we're going to put the panel. Well, that's the theory. Let's see if it all works. There are at least two types of tulle. What I'm using here is what I call a firmer tulle. Some of it is very soft and flimsy, almost like the silk tulle. If you use a sparkly tulle, it tends to be quite soft. This is a firmer, more rigid tulle, which I think supports everything a little bit better when you are using sheer fabrics for creating designs to put your angel together. So we've got the magnetic hoop on the machine, and I'm going to stitch out the surround, which will show me where the insertion of freestanding lace goes. This panel is a lot bigger than what you need. Now my idea is that you put it in place and then you can trim away on the back to make it all look good. So I'm going to go ahead and stitch the apron and show you how we're going to do this. Here is the area where we're going to cut out, and we're going to put the freestanding lace underneath. We're not going to put it on top, because if we put it on top, it's going to be harder to neaten the edges, so it needs to be underneath. Let's see how we go. I think it's a good idea to secure everything in place with a box of stitches. There are some in the design, and if your machine has that facility, then you can use that. But I'm going to stitch out the blue box of stitches, which will just secure everything together. I think I've got a tiny bit of fluff there, which will annoy me if I don't remove it. That just secures everything in place for us. You will notice when you stitch out my designs, you have red and blue outline alignment stitches, and these designs actually have green ones as well, which show you places to insert. It also shows you cutting edges, but even if you stitch them out, you don't have to stitch them out in green. That's what I want to emphasize. So I'm just going to do this outline. I'm not going to cut the stabilizer or the fabric as yet. I want to do the fill, which is above and below, because I think it will hold everything together a lot better. Now I noticed at the beginning of this stitch out that it missed a few stitches at the beginning, so I'm going to go back and stitch those. That's fine. Now we have this shape here, and I'm going to cut out and I'm going to lay the freestanding lace underneath so that the excess is behind this bit stitched out, and I can trim it away when everything is stitched in place. That's the theory, so let's see how it goes. I think complicated cuttings out like this are best done with the hoop removed from the embroidery unit. So I'm going to slip it off, put my lace over there, and I'm just going to cut into. Now we are removing the stabilizer and the fabric. Those scissors are just a bit too, I just want to break the surface. And it's important not to stitch into the satin stitches that are there. This is why I like to have lots of different scissors where you're cutting into your design like this. Go slowly and do little trims rather than big snips. And as you see, I'm turning my hoop so that I've got the easiest access to this. Right, so that is stitched out now. Just going to remove these. Now I'm going to turn the hoop over. Sorry, I'm doing this off camera. Just tidying up everything. Obviously you want to look at your stitch out and make sure that with any lace it's important to discern which way is the right way up. I'm going to put this back on the unit so that you can. It's very difficult with all the magnets. Now I think I will do it on my lap actually. Now the lace needs to be held in place as it's stitching out, so I think it is better to put your temporary adhesive or fabric glue on the back of the design, not on the lace. So I'm going to get my fabric glue and just run it round all the edges. I'm going to fold the lace in half, and just so I can see where the centre is, because it would be nice to have the panel on centrally. I'm just sort of ironing it in place. There we are. Now that is in place here, I can do a little bit of press with my fingers. I could have taped it on the back. There are obviously different ways to do this. Now the next stitch is the satin stitch that will hold it in place at the sides and at the top. Now I can see that is it catching it? Perhaps it is. It's caught it, but it's not caught it properly at the top, and you can see that this join here is not sufficient. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open my software and I'm going to increase the size of the stitches. But it looks good. The overall effect is excellent. And obviously these bits pull away slightly, so I'm going to drop them down, and it doesn't matter if they overlap too much. Anyway, you'll see. This is how you get an idea and you digitize it, but actually finishing off, creating it is another matter. I'm just going to bring this forward again. Yeah, The bottom's fine. What I've done is I've just done some editing in my software. I'm going to take the hoop off. I'm going to remove this design from the machine. Right, it's been deleted from the machine. Now I'm going to load the new version of it. I am using my Sonnet software to send the designs to my Epic. So I am just in the software now removing the old version of that design, and then I have to upload the new version. When you're doing this, it's always good before you upload things that you check the time so that you know that you've got the right file. What I have done, the satin stitches which hold the insert in place, I've widened them and I've done 2 layers. I've mimicked the edges of the wings, which you will see in the wing designs. Right, that's time for me to attach the hoop again. I'm just checking, I'm just moving through the colours, just making sure that everything is in the right place. Right, now we're going to do the attachment again. I am really happy with the way that has attached. Can't say that I'm 100% sure this is going to hold in place, but let's see what happens. Well, here we are. It's done it nicely. I'm really pleased. I'm not sure about the top that I was going to put on. I'm going to stitch it out, but because we have extra stitches under here, because this is definitely a design in progress, not sure how everything will go, but let's see how it turns out. The thread broke just as I was thinking. I don't like that. I prefer this without the satin on the top, so I'm not going to stitch the lower section, and I'm going to move on to the final colour. As you will have noticed, I'm stitching this out just in ivory. I'm not changing the colours. I often put extra colour changes in my designs just so that you've got the opportunity to change and customise designs for yourself. Right. In my excitement of changing the design, at this point I need to take it off the hoop again and turn it over, and it doesn't on the unit, and this is where I have to trim off the excess lace, and I'm afraid I'm going to have to do that on my lap. It's quite satisfying trimming off lace that I don't need, knowing that it's all gone on nicely. Some of my more complicated designs, I can only finish them off in stitching them out. Sometimes it can be just a little bit difficult to envisage how all the stages are going to work. And I've decided at this point you don't want to trim the sides because there's nothing holding those in place as yet. I can now see how to finalise this design and make it perfect for you. So there we are. There you can see the trimming away. Just a bit there I missed. I'll put it back on the machine and do the surround. Right, let's take it off here and see how it all is. The first thing I'm going to do is going to remove these magnets. Right. I'm going to trim away the excess lace at the side here. Probably not a good idea to use the glue. The temporary adhesive is better because it's not so yucky. So there we have the apron, and I'm pulling it and it is nicely secure. I'm going to go back to my software now. I'm going to take out that satin because I think it spoils it. I love this effect of being ridged. And I'm going to slightly widen the edges as well. But that is the apron. Obviously, because it's mesh, there's nothing to soak away, and it's just a case of carefully trimming around. When I'm carefully trimming edges like this, I often find if I'm using curved scissors, it takes me out rather than in too far, if you see what I mean. And obviously with the differences I'm going to make to the design that you will get when this is released, it won't be quite as bulky as this stitch out. But it's been fun to do this and do it in a different hoop as well. Obviously you can do it in an ordinary hoop, doesn't have to be a magnetic one, but I just thought it would be nice to demonstrate that you can do designs on sheer fabric in a magnetic hoop. And there is our apron. Here is one of my angels, and as you can see, it can go up underneath her bodice. There we are. Hope you can see that. Thank you for watching with me as I test out my apron with the freestanding lace panel. The angel will be ready very soon, and I'm just going to make a few adaptations to that apron so that it's perfect. Thank you, and I hope you have success with your angels when you get yours. Happy embroidering.